Well, thanks to the magic of editing and the wonders of modern technology, I am all of a sudden joined in the studio by Anna McGovern. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Now, for those that missed it, Anna is our newest recruit. We're very excited to have her on board. Now, those eagle-eared listeners will have noticed there's a bit of a twang there, a bit of something in the accent. Where are you from?
I'm from London in the United Kingdom. I've moved over to Australia in September and yeah, here I am.
And Anna's an absolute powerhouse. She's the reason why our social media content has just gone up a massive amount, both in quality and quantity. And she's going to be having a role more and more in front of camera as well. This is your first time to the studio. What do you think?
I'm loving the setup. I've, you can't see on camera, but it's actually like in an underground basement sort of thing.
There you go. That's us there.
Yes. So I've never seen anything like this before, but I think, made good use of the space. It's really good. And we've been driving for a few hours now, just been seeing, lots of rural country roads. You never see that in London or in the UK.
All right, well, we do have some business to talk. And seeing as you are from the UK, you've only recently arrived, you've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening over there. So I've kind of got some questions and some things I want to run past you because I'm watching and noticing what I think is a global phenomenon, but the UK seems like a weird outlier. So let me just get into it. Firstly, what we're seeing happen here in Victoria with our ex-premier, or Victoria's ex-premier, Daniel Andrews. Now, he, of course, made Melbourne the most locked-down city in the world, and it really seems to me like he's paying a pretty high price. This particular story here from the Daily Mail is about a video of a driver that was driving next to him saying that it was Daniel Andrews using his phone and actually saying, should I run him off the road?
I think for the public and everything, there's just such a lack of trust now in the state, and I think with Dan Andrews as well, especially the lockdowns that he put under, in Melbourne, and how restrictive they were for so long as well. I remember when I was working at Sky News Australia, everyone was cheering in the production desk when he resigned because everyone's just so angry with the damage that he did to the country, and I think it shows as well the fact that we've now come through this. We've come through the COVID pandemic and all the lockdowns, and now we're just seeing a huge lack of trust and faith in those people in power making decisions that affect all of us.
Okay, I agree with you, but there's an outlier that I want to talk to you about because it seems to me that the attitude, at least as far as the media are telling me here on the other side of the world, the attitude towards Boris Johnson almost seems to be that he didn't go far enough. Here are some protesters here. He fronted the inquiry just a few days ago. He started with an apology, and here are some protesters essentially saying, here's how many people died from COVID and all of this blood is on your hands. Is the mood different over there, or is this a twisting from the media?
I think personally that a lot of people are now incredibly angry with Boris Johnson. I think where most people agreed with the first lockdown and the reasons behind going through with it, when it came to then coming in and out of multiple lockdown restrictions, we had the second and the third one. I think for many people after that, they could just start seeing how ridiculous it was. And I think with Boris as well, we're going through the COVID inquiry currently in the UK, which is to investigate what was going on during the COVID pandemic and the decisions made by the government. And for Boris, it's almost as if like he's had an easy cop-out because now he's about to start his own TV show as well from an outlet that was very highly critical of him in the beginning during the COVID pandemic. And now he's been rewarded almost with his own TV show, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous because I think we should really be holding these people to account. And I just think, again, what he did to the UK was horrific, and the way in which it affected people, I think it's irreparably damaged the trust that we have in the Conservative Party as a whole.
So I was in London for the launch of the ARC, and the Aussie Wire took a team of journalists there. It was an absolutely incredible event, and I wanted to get out and meet some Blade Runners while I was there, and I never had the opportunity. It just never quite worked out for me. But I'm very, very curious. To what degree, if any, maybe not at all, but to what degree do you think the Blade Runner phenomenon, this is where people are going and essentially vandalising ULEZ cameras. These are cameras that are designed to catch you if you enter certain parts of the city and send you a bill if you drive the wrong type of car. It's a sort of a low emissions scheme. To what degree is this Blade Runner phenomenon, do you think, contributed to or attributable to the COVID I guess, the anger out of that. Has that fed that, or are they two entirely separate issues?
No, I think a lot of people are now deciding to take action into their own hands. I always think there'd be a group of people that are kind of inclined to do that and, take responsibility, when they see the government doing something that they don't like.
Sure.
Though this is just very important to, clarify, well, this is under Sadiq Khan. But very much still, it is a lack of trust in the states, as we've seen. I think coming out of the pandemic of COVID lockdowns and all the restrictions that were placed with people, and then seeing many government officials just breaking them left, right, and centre, while we were expected to follow the rules and comply, while we couldn't see loved ones, while we were stuck at home for months on months, and loved ones died, we couldn't go and see them either. You couldn't even attend funerals, you couldn't work. Lives were completely destroyed. So I think this comes out of a place where many people are now looking at the people in power and thinking, well, what do you do to represent me? What do you do to help or serve me? And then when you see more policies being put forward that are taking control of people's lives yet again, I think people are now coming to a point where they're incredibly fed up and just want to, do anything to actually, take some kind of stand against those that are putting these kind of authoritarian measures over people's lives.
Well, we're seeing changes not just in, obviously, London, and the whole Blade Runner thing is thrilling to me. I just think it's fantastic. And yes, you can quote me on that. You can sue me. I've just got off my incitement charges, so you can slap some more on me. I think it's brilliant. And we're seeing, around the world, we're seeing some things happen. But I want to take a backward step for a moment here. We've just seen Richard Branson arrive in Australia. He's launching a new cruise ship, as you do when you're a squillionaire. And he made the comment that next time, if there is a next time, and we all know there will be a next time, that we should, here in Australia, we should take the Swedish strategy. Now, what's interesting to me in the context of us talking about Boris Johnson is that was what he initially wanted to do. Initially, he was putting the brakes on the idea of lockdowns and everything else. And it was actually a model from the Imperial College of London that then completely changed everything. This model predicted absolute bedlam. It was just going to be the Black Plague if they didn't take extreme non-medical and medical interventions to try and reduce deaths. Now, in hindsight, this is an article that's been written with the benefit of hindsight, but it was actually written in 2021. It was already very obvious that model was absolutely absurd. To illustrate how absurd, when it comes to Taiwan, the Imperial College model, which actually then informed Boris Johnson's response, got the Taiwanese death toll wrong by a mere 1.8 million%. That's all, just a slight error there. And yet this is what then came to dominate the UK response. To what degree do non-politicians, the bureaucrats, the elite class, the specialist class have a lot to answer for here?
Oh, they have so much to answer for. And I think this kind of feeds into, again, the fact that the public were incredibly lied to over and over again during the COVID lockdowns. The government is now been proven we're using scare tactics to actually scare the public into compliance. With a lot of important decisions were actually being dictated over WhatsApp messages. And I just think it's awful. Like, the fact is over the fact that, they're just having, private conversations on WhatsApp and almost making light of the fact that they're trying to scare people into compliance when they know it's not actually as dangerous as they're making it out to be. So a lot of these statistics that we're now seeing were very fabricated. The public were incredibly misled. And I think, especially with this inquiry that's now going on in the UK investigating the actions of the government, I think people will now want answers and want to see what actually went on behind closed doors.
So internationally, we've seen a movement towards what I would say are minority figures who have been perhaps in politics for a while, but have never really been taken seriously. The Geert Wilders of the world, for example, the Javier Milei, although he's been in politics a bit more recently than Geert. Geert's been around for a long time. But these are people that were once dismissed, derided, written off. You're never going to amount to anything. And now all of a sudden, in a few different countries around the world, we're seeing them actually getting in as either Prime Minister or President, depending on the system. New Zealand, of course, right now has the most conservative coalition government that it's had basically in its history. Do you think that these are once again linked, that this is all an extension of this same, I guess, awakening, for lack of a better word?
Oh, absolutely. And I think they all kind of follow suited at a time. I think especially as well in terms of, the pandemic, a lot of this information was unknown, and I think a lot of these leaders were kind of following suit with each other rather than actually making decisions that were the right ones and kind of just misleading the public a lot of the time just to get them to comply with whatever crazy measure that they were then bringing forward. The public want answers, and the public want to see kind of some, sort of retribution, from the fact that the government misled them so badly. And I think figures like Boris Johnson have actually just got the easy end of the stick by the fact that they're now kind of being celebrated on the networks, on TV, online, despite the damage that he did to the country when he was Prime Minister.
Well, I can tell you here at the Aussie Wire, we're not that interested in letting them ride off into the sunset without facing some accountability, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that in the new year. We have a special project on that front planned. But for now, Anna McGovern, thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Thank you.
It's a rare treat. It probably won't happen very often, unfortunately, but welcome. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you again here on the Aussie Wire.